What's up guys, how's everybody doing? Today I want to talk about what split should you do, what training split should you do to maximize your gains. This is a huge question that I get a lot, so I'm happy to do a little short video, or hope to do a short video on what you guys can do and what you should be doing. So there's a few things that you need to consider before you start a training plan. One of them is, what are your goals? Like, what are you aiming for? What category are you going for? Are you just a general lifestyle trying to look better? Are you going for men's physique? Are you going for bodybuilding? You need to understand your training experience. Have you just started training? Are you 7 years deep? Are you 20 years deep? This is also a factor you need to consider. You need to understand your availability. Do you have a full-time job where you can't get away maybe 5 times a week, maybe 6 times a week, and you can only train 3 times a week? That is something that you need to consider. Also, you need to consider your weaknesses. Is there something that you need to work on? Is there something that you want to shape a little bit more? Do you want to add certain bits of mass here, bits of mass there, etc, etc. Most importantly guys, you need to understand and have a general conception of what you enjoy. There's no point doing a training plan that you don't enjoy. So this is something that I always put to my clients is, I send them out a training plan, I say, let me know which ones you like, and I'm always on them, like, do you like this, do you like that, how does this one feel, does this feel bad, does that feel good? And then you can swap it out for something else to make it feel better and better and better. So once you have a rough idea of all of the answers to these questions, that's when you can really start to manipulate your plan and really start to build your plan. Let's start from the basics. You've just come to training, you've just started training, and I feel like training experience is probably the most important one of these questions that you need to answer to bring a plan to life. So if you've just started training, what you need to be focused on is high frequency, guys, is learning these fundamental movements. And that means that you need to perform them like very frequently, a lot of times, guys, to be able to train your brain in those motor patterns, to learn the motor patterns to make the movement work. The reason why powerlifters are so good at the squat, bench and deadlift is because every single session they will either squat, bench or deadlift. There is no two ways about it, guys. You'll become efficient at the movement, you'll become better at the movement, therefore being able to move more weight. So first of all, I'd recommend straight up for guys who are just coming to the gym, guys who've maybe got a year under their belt, full body training. Full body training, guys. What? Full body training? But how am I gonna grow from that? You're gonna grow through progressive overload, guys. It doesn't matter how you split your workouts in the end, as long as you're applying progressive overload, you will gain muscle, as long as you're making the prerequisite of volume needed to grow. Now when you start, you've actually got no volume or no frequency to go off. So actually doing something is gonna elicit a response. But I would recommend doing a full body split every other day. This will allow you to keep your frequency high, so you're gonna hit every single body part 4 times a week, maybe. Sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week. That is a high frequency training plan. But in doing that, you're gonna have to play with your volume, guys. Now this is a key word of today's video, is volume, volume control. People get so carried away with increasing volume, doing German volume training, 20 by 20, 10 by 10, 5 by 10, all this kind of crazy stuff, when really they don't need to do that much. If you're doing a full body workout and you're doing 10 sets on each exercise, on each muscle group, you're not going to recover from that. You're not going to be able to give yourself enough time to be able to put the maximum into the next efforts. So that's where you need to control your volume. So first of all, I would just start off doing a couple sets, 2 different rep ranges, one heavier, one lighter, on each different body part a couple times. So maybe 2 bicep exercises, 2 chest, 2 back, 2 legs, and then just move forward from there. There you can see the response that your body has, and then you can make the changes. You can add more volume if you need to. You can take away if you need to. There's no problem with that. I think as you move through your bodybuilding career, maybe pushing past the year and you're kind of getting bored of the full body split, and maybe you're not progressing as much as you might be if you're doing something else, or as much as you want to be. This is where you can start to break up body parts. This is when I would move into an upper lower split. So with the upper lower split, you just go upper lower rest, or you can go upper lower, upper lower, upper lower. This allows just as much frequency, but a little bit more volume. You can spend the extra sets on your upper body, the extra sets on your lower body as you split the full body workouts. This just increases your overall training volume and your overall frequency on both upper and lower parts, and it will be an increase on from doing a full body workout, which will elicit a new response. The thing is with upper lower body splits, you can really do this for a long period of time. You could do this for 10 years and you could still progress. But obviously people kind of get impatient, people want something new. That's where a push-pull legs would come in. This still allows you to get the frequency needed to be able to grow, but also gives you something new to go off. So you got the push, you got the pull, you got the legs, you can rest, you can do push-pull legs. That is everything twice a week. So that's still frequently, that's still more than one time a week, which is ideal in this situation. You don't ever, as a natural competitor or a natural bodybuilder or a natural someone who goes to the gym, doesn't take steroids, you want to be not doing the bro splits. You don't want to be doing chest one day, back one day, biceps the next day. You will grow from that, you will see some progression, but you will not see it as much as doing these full body splits, moving into an upper lower split, moving into a push-pull leg split. And then once you move into the more advanced range, the more kind of 5 years plus, that's when you can really start to play with things. You can see what needs to grow. You know, you should have had some good growth in the first 5 years. You should be trying to grow everything in the first 5 years. Like, everything will need to grow. You can't just say, oh, I need a bigger chest, because your back probably needs to get bigger as well. So that's why you need to focus on everything as a whole. And then once you start maybe seeing imbalances, or maybe seeing one body part being a strong point, for example, my back was always quite a strong point, so I never trained it as much. And I could concentrate on my arms, or I could concentrate on bringing my delts up. And all these things are needed to be taken into consideration when making the ideal plan later on in an advanced lifter, kind of 5 years plus. That's when you can really start to manipulate what you're training and when to try and create the shapes that you want to create. So that's training experience covered. Availability, when you go into availability, this is where splits can change. So if you're an advanced lifter and you've suddenly got a job that's very, very demanding, you might have to go back to a full body split, but because you've got that knowledge of those years of lifting, you can utilize it better. You could probably get away with a little bit more volume. But really working around your lifestyle, if you can only get to the gym 3 times a week, you're gonna have to do full body. If you can only get to the gym 4 times a week, you could get away with upper lower, that kind of thing. So assess your availability, and then assess to see and then see if you're getting enough frequency in. If you're not, that's when you're gonna have to start adding body parts together. Your rest and recovery needs. If you're not recovering from resting 1 day a week, rest for 2 days a week. If you're not recovering from 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and it's so on, so on, so on. Or you need to assess your volume. If you're not recovering, your volume could be too high, guys. This could go for any training system. If you're not recovering well enough for the next session, forget DOMs. I mean full recovery. For you not to be able to pull that same weight, to push that same weight, to squat that same weight, you need to assess your volume, guys. Weaknesses. Now this kind of comes into later on when you can kind of identify the weaknesses, because when you first start, you're not going to be able to identify the weaknesses. So when you start to identify weaknesses, the answer is very, very simple. It is frequency. You want to bring up your delts, train your delts more. You want to bring up your arms, train your arms more. It's really, really that simple, guys. I hope this is a short video. That's it, I'm gonna leave it there. If you guys enjoyed this kind of video, let me know if you do. This is kind of a talking to the camera video. See you guys soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.